Hello everybody and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast Arichcomiclife. My name is Richard Gill and my blog describes my experiences of watching over 900 comedians and counting over the last 46 years. My guest today is the wonderful comedian Mr. Nathan Caton. Yay! Hello mate, how are you?
I'm cool, man. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you very much. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, mate, no, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. We're going to talk about an hour or so about your comedy career. And I'd like to kick off, please, by asking you, how did you become a comedian in the first place?
I was just too lazy to get a job, and that's what happened.
Right.
Okay. How did I become a comedian? I mean, I guess, well, when I was 19,
yeah,
I was studying architecture at university, and it was the summer holidays, so in between first, second year, and I went to a comedy club. I bought Time Out magazine. I'm showing my age now. Yeah, but they used to have they used to have the open spot, and you said,
right.
Call up if you want a spot. I was like, yeah, sure, okay, because comedy was always something I wanted to try. So I always liked performing arts. So I was like, yeah, I like to give comedy a go, see what it's about. Called them up. Went down to a gig in Old Street. Absolutely died on my hole. It was like looking back on it now, I was like, yeah. I mean, everything about the gig was awful. It wasn't conducive to stand-up comedy whatsoever. But my material certainly did not help. And yeah, but the thing is that even though I died, even though it was awful, like I felt comfortable on stage. It was like, okay, I've done it. You know what I mean? Like surely now things can only get better. The only way's up. Like can't get any worse than this. So that was my first stand-up in a club. I did stand-up when I was 14. That was like a one-off talent show. But this is the first time in a proper comedy club with strangers. And then I just kept on going back to like open spot clubs, and I don't know when I would say I officially became a comedian, but that's what got the ball rolling.
So what year are we talking about? Your first gig?
So that would have been like, I think it was August or September 2004.
Right.
Yeah, it would be 2004.
So
2005 was the first year when everything. I started doing it like when I really started making an effort. So 2004.
Right. And this was in London at the comedy clubs. Is that right?
It was a venue in Old Street in like central London. I think it's a Sainsbury's local now. From last time I was on, which probably is a good thing. It probably definitely serves more purpose. It was a bar. Yeah. And then there was like a snooker club right next door. It was in the same building, just a curtain that separated it. So that made it even worse doing the gig because you could hear everyone playing snooker and making noise. Or the bleed was coming into the actual comedy club room. I got bar 187 or something like that in Old Street.
So to get your grounding as a stand-up comedian, did you play a lot of pubs doing 5-minute slots, taking a friend along for support? Is that how you got in?
I didn't take a friend along. I think I was probably the generation before.
Right.
Like I've heard about that, and I'm like, oh, open spots, man. I mean, it's hard enough in open spot. You have to bring a friend as well. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows comedians don't have friends.
I'm sure
we travel alone. We just go from gig to gig. We don't have friends, right? We have gig lists. We have acquaintances. We don't have friends. No, I'd have to bring any friends, but I did do the open mic circuit because obviously that's how you start. You know, you start doing the open mics. You know, you do your 5 minutes. You know, and then you progress to 7 minutes, and you progress to 10 minutes. Like, that's double 5. How am I going to do that? So I've worked through all that, you know, doing the open mics, and then starting to get paid for little bits and pieces here and there. So I've over the years climbed the ladder.
That's excellent. The reason I ask that is that I go to a lot of free comedy nights where friends of mine want to become comedians.
Okay.
So of course they send me along, and I'm sitting in the front row going bananas in the front row, laughing away at them. And it's obviously good for them, but suddenly when they have a gig when I'm not there, they're thinking, well, where's the laugh? You know, that
that's the thing. Like, do you laugh more because it's your friends?
I am very supportive, but for me, it's got to be funny. You know, you've got to have a 5-minute routine. It's very rare I don't laugh. I'm very enthusiastic about what I do, but if I don't laugh, I just tend to sit in silence.
See, that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't like having like my friend. I'm kind of glad that I didn't go through that whole being a friend, because I don't like performing in front of people that I know.
Right.
For some reason, like if I know you, it's like, no, don't come to any of my gigs. Because one, if you laugh,
I hope you don't mind me being there.
Oh no, mate, I think you've been to my gigs. That's cool. That's fine. Right, we're cool. We're cool. You are welcome to Nathan Caton comedy gigs. But yeah, people like my mum, my girlfriend, my brother was like, no, just go away. Like I've been, I was out with my girlfriend during the day, and then a gig came up, a last minute gig in central London. I was like, I've got a gig. And she's like, oh, I'll come with you. No. And I made her go shopping for like an hour or so because I didn't want her to come. I don't like people that I know because, I mean, one, they know what I'm like off stage, right? So I'm like, no, I don't want to see the magic, you know what I mean? And also, like, if they're laughing, in my head, I'm always going to be thinking, are you laughing because you know me and you're trying to be supportive? Whereas if it's strangers, you know, if they're laughing, it's because they find you funny.
It's because they find you funny, exactly.
I hate.
That's interesting.
Hate having people that I know. The only times when like people I know, like my mum, that come to my gig, or is if I like when I did Love of the Apollo or Mock the Week. That's the only time I've had family. Otherwise, like no, just no.
Wow. So was there a point early on or throughout your career where you thought to yourself, I can make a go of this, I'm doing this well, I can make a living from this?
Make a living. Okay, there was I remember there was one time when I thought, okay, maybe I'm doing something right. It was the 2005 Laughing Horse new act competition. Again, showing my age, mate. Yeah. It was a semi-final, right? And at the time, I'm 19, 20, right? I was a kid, and that's how I thought I was. That's how I thought I came across to everyone else. Like, this kid, he's up on stage telling us dumb jokes. You know, he's not going to get anywhere. And that's what I thought. I thought, you know, I mean, I can be funny for a little while, but to that, you know, to an adult audience, they're not going to care what I've got to say. You know, talking about being at university and going to clubs, you know, trying to pull girls and stuff. Like, what? No, they're not gonna want to hear what material I've got, because they just think that I'm a kid and they're gonna dismiss me straight away.
Sure.
So I did the semi-final, and it was the audience got to vote. They voted for their first, second, third, and then they tallied up all the points, and whoever came first went through to the final. And I came first. I didn't expect to, because well, thank you very much, sir.
Well deserved.
At the time, I didn't think so. I was like, I'm just a kid. Like, there were other adults there, you know, who were talking about stuff that probably they could relate to more. But they thought I was funny. And that's when I was like, so maybe I can make a random group of adult strangers laugh. Yeah. Maybe, because I thought maybe I was confined to like just doing like university gigs because they're my age. Right. But I was like, oh no, I can make anyone laugh. It doesn't matter what their age is. And that's when I was like, okay, cool.
So I'm going to go and see what happens. This is it, yeah. This is the point, and you've been successful ever since. Talking of competitions, you've won or been nominated for many competitions, including the Amused Moose runner-up and the Chortle Student Comedian of the Year in 2005, and also FHM Stand-Up Hero finalist in 2010. Describe the experiences overall of competitions. Do you think they gain you credit? Do you think they are a good thing? Do you think they're a good way in?
it's. I mean, if you get to a final, whatever, it's good to have on your CV.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I wouldn't say you have to do competitions to make it. There's so many different avenues now.
Sure.
So I mean, well, when I started, there wasn't social media and stuff, and YouTube wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
So competition, it was a good avenue because like, okay, who's the new acts coming through? It's good to the competition to see who's in there. So I mean, for me personally, it was good because I did quite well. When the short student one, and I was runner up in Moose Moose. Who won? A woman called Sarah Millican. She came first. Whatever happened to her? Yeah, I don't know. I think she gave up. Yeah, and then same with the FHM stand up. I mean, the guy who won it, a guy called Josh Widdicombe. Nothing from him. Nothing. Exactly. He's not here talking to you. I'll tell you that. So yeah, I guess competition. They're good. You know, like they're good to have in your CV if you're a finalist or runner up, winner, whatever. But I wouldn't say you have to do it now.
No. The first ever act I saw was way back in the 70s, and it was Les Dawson on Holiday. And then a year later I saw Tommy Cooper, and I got the bug for going to comedy shows. And the first one I ever saw in London was in 1992 at the Comedy Store, and the bill there was Steve Gribbin, Linda Smith, Phil Jupitus, and I thought, this is fantastic. And that really, the blog started off as a spreadsheet, and then it's created into this very enthusiastic, joyous thing, which is hopefully supporting and helping all the comedians. Let's move on to the Edinburgh Fringe, the Edinburgh Festival. I'm very lucky to go to the Fringe every year, and that's my holiday. I normally go in the middle week, and I see about 50 shows, and I'm shattered by the end of it, but I just have the best time. My first one was 2005. Describe what your first experience of it was, please.
It would have been the same year, 2005. That's the Muse Moose. Yeah. Oh man, we probably walked by each other and didn't even know. It was the Muse Moose new act competition. Yeah. The semi-final and the final were in Edinburgh.
Right.
On 2 different weekends. So I remember I went up for, I think maybe the middle weekend or the 3rd weekend, did the semi-final, and I remember I got through to the final. I remember being outside where was it? I think it was the Underbelly.
Right, yes.
In Edinburgh.
Yeah, know it well, yeah.
Yeah, if you know Edinburgh, you'll know the Underbelly. Otherwise, this is a very random reference. I was in the Underbelly, and I was calling my mum. It's late at night. I was like, Mum, I've got to come back to Edinburgh next weekend. I'm through to the final. And she's like, okay, well done. And in my head, I'm like, how much is that going to cost me because Edinburgh's expensive.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whose sofa am I going to sleep on next weekend? So I remember, coming up, going back home, being excited for the final, and then going back up, getting runner up, coming second, going back home, and showing my mum the trophy, which to this day she still has, because she has she's stolen it, like it's hers, like she was the one who was on stage.
She'll be delighted for her son.
She's got it on a display by the TV in the living room. It's like, Mum, you realize it says Nathan Caton and not like Genevieve Caton. You realize that, right? Just say, like, you weren't on stage. That's all me. Can I have my trophy back? But she can have it. It's fine.
That's brilliant. And you've been going consistently nearly every year, haven't you?
Well, not in the last 5 or so years. So I did 2005. I did Amuse Moose. 2007, I did a 2-hander with another comedian, Matt Brown. We got to him. We did half an hour each, shared an hour. And then my first solo show was 2009. I did 2009, 10, 11, and then 13, 14, or 14, 15.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. And did you find writing an hour's worth solo show did it get harder the more time you had to fill, or did you have ideas, or how did the solo shows come about?
It's up and down, really. I mean, the The first one, 2009, was fairly easy because I had never done Edinburgh before. So I had 2009, so 4 to 5 years worth of material that I could stack up into an hour and make it into a show. So I found that easier and probably more enjoyable because there's so much stuff. It's like, okay, well, what if I do that with this? And we'll put that there and bring that in here. And there's so many ways to mold the show. And I think that came through because the show that I'm still very proud of that debut show, which I got good work out of it. I got to work with the BBC and stuff, so that was cool.
Fantastic.
I had the second album syndrome.
Oh, I see. Right.
The second one was difficult. I remember I was doing photo shoots for my show, and I still didn't know what the show was.
Oh,
so like, what's it called? What's it called? I was like, what's it about? It's about an hour.
Yeah.
I kind of, that was a mishmash of a show.
Yeah.
But in 2011, that was better because I didn't constrict myself so much to having a theme. Right. It was just, okay, let me just do an hour of stuff and see what theme naturally comes about.
Sure.
And I enjoyed that. And I think also by that time I was doing stand-up full time. I was gigging a lot, I was writing a lot, and I was able to produce more material and I got better at writing.
Yeah.
So it kind of went, 2009 was up there, 2010 down, 2011 up, one after 2013, 14, which I can't remember what year it was. That was the Teenage Mutant Nathan Caton show. Right?
I remember that. I couldn't get into that. It was sold out when I went up. I wanted to try to get in, but the day I went, I couldn't get in. I was fuming.
Oh snap! Sorry, man. The one day that it was sold out.
I know. I'm thinking that this is a complete sellout.
That show, I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
It was probably the most heartfelt and emotional show I've done because I've talked about things that got really deep and personal. But I think that might have worked against me because some reviewers were like, "This is too deep. It's not funny." But that was more of a show. There was more narrative there. And then 2015 was just an amalgamation of stuff, which is an hour of this is what I've been doing for the last 12 months. Blah. And there was no narrative. I was very carefree with that. So I mean, I've enjoyed them all in different ways. It's all been a challenge. Every single show, because it's made me write. It's made me fine tune material and stuff like that. That's one thing about Edinburgh. It does make you work.
It is an amazing experience, I think, for both comedian and audience. And I think, as you've been talking about your different shows, it's all about experience, and it's all about gaining confidence when you're on stage, and you have to walk out there and you're in control of the room, and you want to obviously be funny, but if you want to say specific things, it's this confidence that has to go around the room, and I think you've got it in absolute spades. I've seen you many times live, and you're very easygoing, but you're the sort of comedian that makes the audience want to sit up and listen, and then you've got a killer punchline, and it works brilliantly.
Thank you.
On top of the confidence, do you ever suffer from any nerves before you go on stage, and if so, how do you cope with them?
Oh yeah. Lots of times. I get probably still got nervous now. I got nervous. Was it last week? My first gig back in the club after I don't know 6-7 months. I was nervous. I was like, how do I do my jokes again? Like there's material that I haven't done in months. I was like, what's the wording for that? How do I get to the punch? I know what the punchline is, but what's the setup? I get nervous all the time. But I remember when I was in high school, my drama teacher always said, if you don't get nervous, you're not doing it right. Nerves means that
advice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you get nervous mean that you care about it. You care about, and I care about what I do. And it makes you focus. It sharpens you. It's like, okay, I'm nervous. I have to get this right.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I kind of welcome the nerves now. Like,
do you pace up and down before you go on stage, or once you've spoken on stage, does it? Are you fine when you're on stage, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't pace around. Maybe I'll just I don't know, kind of keep myself to myself for a quick bit and kind of go through not all the material, because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I know there's some points that I want to get to, but I don't always have the fillers. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to open with this, but then what should I do in the middle? Or what can I end on? Or I know I'm going to end on, so okay, but how do I get to the ending? So sometimes I'm just going through the points that I know I want to get to. Or if I got that new stuff, I was like, okay, remember the new bit, okay, put it in there, and it goes like this. So I kind of do it to myself and go through it. But yeah, once I'm on stage, I mean, it's my happy place. I mean, once I say the first stroke, it's like, okay, and we're off.
You're away, describe in more detail your writing process. Do you have different pointers that lead you on to write, or do you just it's a horrible term, but do you mind map ideas? Do you stick to one particular theme, or how do you if you at all have a writing process?
It's my writing process. It's more laid back than it used to be. When I first started, I used to sit down and I was like, okay, I need to write about this topic, and I used to write out word for word every single thing that I am going to say on stage.
Wow.
But then I would go on stage and I would never say it how I wrote it out, because obviously when you're at home writing it, you're formal, but you go on stage, I'm like, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, it kind of free flows, it flows in a different way. It was just more naturally. So I stopped writing fully. I just write like bullet points. But in terms of like what material, pretty much anything. I mean, a lot of like what's going on in the news, or like current affairs, and like that. If I've got an opinion on it, I'll try and turn it into a piece of material. I don't always, not anymore anyway. When I was younger, but now maybe because I'm long with the tooth and I kind of know what I'm doing. Whereas I don't write it out fully, or I might even write bullet points. Instead, I'll make mental notes, and then I'll go on stage, and if I'm trying to do stuff, I'll just see what comes out. If it's funny, that's how it's going to be. If it's not, I'll tweak it until I find the funny bit. And that's happened. And then I'll go and I'll write the bullet points out, rather than trying to force it to write it. And then instead, I'll just mentally write things in my head and try to remember it. Or I'll write, or I've got a notepad, or notepad. But I'll just like write a word or sentence, and like, okay, that's about that bit, and then that will trigger my mind to remember it.
That's fascinating, because when you talked about the first process when you wrote everything down, it reminded me. I saw Ken Dodd live 3 or 4 times, and he was an amazing delivery of a joke, but it was the same joke, it was the same routines, the majority of them, but he was a great deliverer of them. And yet you had somebody like Frankie Howard, who infamously had every ooh and ah that he said written down for him. and it's extraordinary how certainly comedians go about how to be original, which you are, or unique in what you do, which you also are, and how they process that, and how they get to the final point of delivering the joke to the audience. Just moving on from that, do you have a way of remembering your jokes and routines? Do you have, again, trigger points in your head that will lead you on to the next routine, or is there a way of doing it?
I have like a sentence, or like a header, like, okay, so at the moment, what would I say? Something like,
sorry to put you on the spot.
No, like, okay, I'm thinking about a chunk of material that I've got. Bell ends in lockdown. That's one of my topics. Right. So I know When I see that, I was like, okay, I know what it's like chapters.
Yeah.
That's the head of the chapter.
Yeah.
And I know all the jokes that's in the chapter. And then
brilliant.
If I'm going to attach it to another piece of material, I'll try and think of a segue to get from that chapter to the next chapter.
I see. Yeah. It's a good way of doing it. Tell me more about your appearances on Live at the Apollo and Mock the Week. What were they like as opposed to live stand-up? Was there any restrictions, or could you say what you like, or how does the process work?
No, there was definitely restrictions because it's TV. I mean, live comedy. I mean, in the clubs, it's just raw. It's the true art form, man. It's
exactly, yeah.
Energy and you want proper comedy, go to a comedy club.
Yeah.
I mean, I sound like an old dinosaur, but like TV is great, but like it's not the same. It's social media. I mean, people are funny on social media, but I always think if you want to go like a proper comedian, hit a comedy club.
You got to be in a club, yeah.
So much the energy that's so addictive. But I mean, Live at the Apollo, they were great. They're both great.
Did the producers ask you to be on them?
So Live at the Apollo, I think I did a showcase that my agents put together.
Right. And
then a few weeks later, I'm going to a gig. I park up and I take out my phone. I see there's a voicemail, and as my agent said, "Hey Nathan, can you call me back? Can you get a moment?" So I call her back. Thinking, she's gonna let me go? What's going on? Have I done something wrong? And she's like,
"What's this?"
So she's like, so Live at the Apollo. How do you feel about doing it?
Wow.
I was like, what? Like, yeah, you've been offered Apollo. I was like, okay, hold on. Why are you calling me to ask me? You know what the answer is going to be.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm gigging it in Leighton Buzzard that night. No, I'll do it. And then with Mock the Week, it was an Edinburgh preview actually. Right. One of the producers from Mock the Week came down to an Edinburgh preview that I did, and maybe I was doing topical stuff. And during Edinburgh, again, it was one morning. My agent called me. It's like, you've been booked for Mock the Week, the first week back after Edinburgh.
Wow.
I was like, wow. Yeah, and I mean, you talked about nerves earlier. I definitely had nerves doing like Apollo and Mock the Week. I remember my first Apollo, there's that big screen that says Live at the Apollo, and then it comes up and there's all that smoke. Yeah, I remember standing behind that. I'm about to go on, right? And I was the last act on the night, so I was like, okay, I can't afford to be shit because I'm going to be their last memory of the gig. So I was like, okay, come on, you got to nail it. I've been practicing my material, my routine for like the last 2-3 weeks because my agent drilled it into me, like, get your 20 minutes down tight. So I'm standing there waiting, and the company's like, are you ready for your next act? I was like, oh shit, it's me. And I remember one of the show managers, he was like, the thing was coming up and all the smoke starts coming everywhere, and the show manager's like, walk forward. And I was like, I can't, the smoke, I can't see where I'm going. Just walk forward, and the audience will be there. It's like, dude, I cannot see where I'm going. It's like, walk. So I walk forward, smoke, and then like 2 seconds later, I'm just standing there, and there's like, I don't know how many thousand people just staring at me like, come on, let's go. What have you got?
I'm sorry, I can't see. Oh, here's my first line.
yeah. No, my first line was.
And of course, you have to do it as though it's your first ever time. It's just like it's a walk in the park. So presumably, was that your comedy highlight so far, or do you have another comedy highlight, or?
That's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Doing Live at the Apollo, because when I first started, that was a show. All the big comedians, you got into Live at the Apollo. That was it.
Yeah.
It was like the pinnacle. So to get on that.
I used to go there all the time to watch stand-up comedy as well. The comedians, it would be a favourite touring.
So it's a great venue.
Yeah,
great venue. That was definitely a highlight. And also, even though I said I don't let my family come in, my mum, my girlfriend, and my brother came.
That's fantastic.
it was, I know, it kind of felt like me showing off to mum, going, "Mum, look, I'm on
Look
TV,
what
mum.
I can do. That's brilliant.
Look what your little baby's doing. He's making all these strangers laugh with like random dick jokes and stuff."
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and after the show, backstage, it was me, my mum, girlfriend, my brother, and my brother. If you see me do stand up, you know my brother's very laid back, very lackadaisical. He hates the fact that like sometimes people refer to him as Nathan Caton's little brother, and he hates it. He's like, "Listen, I'm my own person, okay?" He hates it. But after that Apollo performance, he was like, "Yo, bruv, that was funny." And like, my brother doesn't pay me compliments like that. So for him to be like, "That was funny," I was like, okay.
There you go. You couldn't ask for a better compliment.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I've got an older brother, and we're very, very close, but we don't look like each other. He doesn't have glasses or a big chin or whatever, and for me, right throughout my life, I've been burdened with it's not a burden. It's been quite a success. I am the absolute double of Eddie the Eagle Edwards. And when he was popular when I was at college in the 80s, the classes used to stop and come up to me and go, "You're not his brother, are you?" And I didn't know who they were talking about until they got me a meeting with him. He was opening up a Radio Rentals in Hanley in Stoke.
Oh, wow.
And I met him and he went, "Oh my God." I said, "I know, it's extraordinary."
Doppelganger, how you doing?
So yeah, it's wonderful when something like that happens. Do you have any ambitions as a comedian? Would you like to write your own sitcom? Would you like to be on more quiz shows? Would you like?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I mean, well, I'm a very ambitious person. I always want to get better, and I'm always thinking, okay, what's next? You know, like when I did that Love the Apollo, I was like, okay, that's great, I've done it. What now? What's next?
Yeah.
I'm always looking, to climb the ladder. To do more stuff. I mean, I would love to have my own sitcom.
Yeah.
I would love to, be a big touring name. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I'm in a good place, but I mean, obviously, I want more. I want to carry on touring.
Yeah.
I want to go to America, and I would like to, just try my chops there as well.
Right.
And see if my comedy translates. I would love to
I'm sure it would. I think you've got no doubt.
I don't know. I mean, don't jinx it. I would love to try my hand in America. I was talking about this with someone recently. I would love to have my own a sports comedy chat show.
Brilliant! What a great idea! Yeah.
I'm a massive football fan. I'm a massive basketball fan. And the thought of combining sports with comedy, because naturally in sports there's a lot of comedy, fans taking the mick up each other's teams and stuff. And I would like to have something that translates into a radio show or TV show. That would be
brilliant.
One of my ambitions.
Who's your team?
So in basketball, Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Hence the hat. In football, I'm a Brentford fan.
Good man. Well, I'm a Carlisle United fan because that's my home city.
Cool. I've been to your ground.
Yeah, Brunton Park.
Yeah, 2010.
That's right.
I think we played you on the first game of the season in League One.
Yeah.
And exactly, it was during the Edinburgh Festival. So I was like, this is perfect. I got the train down, Carlisle, got the train back, did my show. I mean, you spanked us, I think 2 or 3-0.
I think it was 3-0, wasn't it? Yeah, but Brentford are a decent side.
Yeah, well, at the moment, got playoff final on Saturday, hopefully.
Yeah. Well done, you. I go to Carlisle every summer, and as you say, it's ideal for me to go up for an hour to Edinburgh because it's only an hour on the train.
Yeah.
How have you found online gigs as opposed to live gigs? I've seen you many times at many different comedy gigs, and most notably always be comedy, but I've also seen you at other different gigs. Do you do many online gigs, and if so, what do you think of them?
Yeah, I do a hell of a load. I mean, yeah.
That's brilliant.
No, it's just great. Listen, it's kept me going during this pandemic,
Of course, yeah.
because the thought of just sitting at home doing nothing absolutely kills me. I mean, like working hard, just work. That's been drilled into me from my mum and my grandma. Sure. So I have to always do something. So when the pandemic hit, I was doing stuff like on social media for free, whatever. Then the online gigs came, and as soon as it was offered to me, I jumped on it. And there were some comedians who were like, "No, I don't do that. That's not me." But I was like, "Listen, if it's a chance for me to do some comedy in some shape or form, I'm down. Sign me up." So from about May onwards, I've been doing a hell of a load of just online Zoom gigs and like little corporates on Teams and stuff like that. It was weird at first, especially because when the Zoom gigs first came in, people didn't really know how it worked. So they wouldn't have like the audience with their mics on, or like you couldn't see them. They have the camera, so you're just talking to a screen for 20 minutes with no feedback. Oh my gosh, it is so soul destroying. It's not a gig; it's just a guy having a mental breakdown on Zoom.
Oh.
Yeah, that was cold, man. It's like, is this funny? Can someone just write in the chat, ha ha, so I know it's funny. But I mean, now it's different because now obviously you can have audience members with their cameras on, their mics on as well. So I like him now. I don't think they're gonna go, and I don't want them to. They're cool. Like you can do things that you can't quite do that in the comedy club. Even though being in the comedy club is great, but on Zoom also, you can have a bit of fun. You can see everyone. You have to say their name, their highlights on the screen. You chat to them. You can see inside people's homes and stuff. And that is jokes and that. And sometimes like people have their mics on, don't realize it, and you hear some random stuff because people just talking. Like they can't be heard, but everyone can hear them. Everyone can hear them. People on the phone or whatever, and stuff like that. Like I did one Zoom gig, and I just heard his voice go, "What is he? Some sort of rapper?" not knowing that they were on. It's like, no, I'm a comedian, mate. Wow. Thanks. But I think Zoom gigs are cool, man. They're cool, and also like the great things like you don't have to leave your home.
I mean, exactly.
My first gig back last week, I was happy to go out to a comedy club, but I was just like, oh, I have to leave, I have to drive, I have to put on jeans. I'm just gigging my pants.
I agree with you. I think online gigs have been a super substitution. I think that if they hadn't have happened, it would have driven me mad. I don't know how I would have got through lockdown. And I agree with when they first started. There was no audio, so I would sit here and just laugh at four walls, and I thought it was going to be taken away because I'm so loud. But as soon as they opened up the audio, the comedians could get a sense of the laughter. They could become more involved. Who did it? But,
exactly.
And it's wonderful, and I think it will continue. But for me, you can't beat live comedy. I really miss going out on a Saturday night, having a few beers, and then going to a comedy club and laughing my socks off, because, as I said before, it's of the moment that you're in, and you never know what you never know what's gonna happen. And please come back very, very soon, live comedy. I'm sure it will. But I think you're right. I think the online comedy will continue. They might do a live stream maybe one night, or the promoters or something, because what's been interesting with the audiences is that they come from all over the world, and they might not get to a specific venue, and yet it's all there for them. It'll be interesting to see what does happen. Who are your favourite comedians, past and present?
Okay. So my idol, my influence is Eddie Murphy.
Oh, mate, what a choice!
Old school Eddie Murphy. The original Coming to America, not Coming to America 2.
Yeah. Well, I would put 48 Hours Trading Places.
Great movies. I mean,
and Raw is an amazing performance, stand-up performance. Eddie Murphy, Raw.
Raw and hilarious. I mean, thing is, I got into Eddie Murphy when I was a kid because I used to watch what my family used to watch him. So I used to watch what my family watched. So I used to watch his, well, say watch them. I was watching movies even though I shouldn't have been watching it because I was underage. But I knew he was funny. I didn't realize he was a stand-up. It wasn't until like I saw I think they had my family had Eddie Murphy Delirious on VCR and VHS.
Yeah.
In his red leather suit, right? I was like, what's Eddie Murphy doing? And there were times when like they would send me and my cousins out to the garden, to the passage, go and play, and then put the tape on, and I could just hear them.
Yeah.
Like, what are they laughing at? And then eventually, maybe I was about 14, 15, I got my hands on it, right? I managed to get it off my grandma. I don't know how, I think I just blagged it, right? Or maybe she just thought, go on, now you're old enough. And I watched it, and poof, I was like, this is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was absolutely hooked. And then,
so was he an influence to you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Richard Pryor. Yeah. Because obviously, without Richard Pryor, you wouldn't have Eddie Murphy. Then you wouldn't have all the other black comedians and all generations after. But Eddie Murphy, like talking about like his family and stuff. I used to I do jokes about my family, you know, and like cultural jokes and stuff as well. Yeah. It's definitely an influence. Eddie Murphy, like,
of course, yeah. And what about now, more modern comics?
So I'm a big fan of Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think he's funny, but also he's smart.
Very much so, yeah.
I like comedians like who aren't just funny, but they go, okay, yeah. I see your point. I see. Well. Yeah. Bill Burr.
Oh, he's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just love how angry he gets at stuff. You know what I mean?
He's you can tell that, isn't he? Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. You can tell that when he's talking about it, like he means this. Like this is actually his opinion. You know, he's not just saying it to be funny. This is what he thinks. So yeah, Bill. I think Bill Burr is an amazing stand-up comedian.
Fantastic. Really good choices, man. Really good. Like me, do you go to a lot of comedy gigs as a member of the audience, either as a comedian or before you were a comedian?
No. Never, you know. No.
A lot of the comedians say no, and you know it's perfectly understandable.
No, I mean, well, maybe because I'm so busy, I'm always gigging anyway. But even before now, because I don't know, it's never really appealed to me.
No.
To go to a comedy, like, unless everyone's watching me, I'm not going.
Of course.
Nah. I mean, the only time I've gone as a punter is like during Edinburgh. Right, I've gone to see other friends' shows.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of comedy growing up?
Was in comedians on TV and stuff?
Yeah. Or did you go as a family like I did growing up to comedy gigs or anything like that? Was there?
We didn't go to gigs, but there was always like my family used to watch like a lot of Eddie Murphy, Lenny Henry. They watched a lot of his shows. Yeah. Because he was the only black comedian at the time. Yeah. So when he was on, my family like, Lenny's on. Because you know,
brilliant.
As a family, we could relate to the jokes and what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I remember watching a lot of Lenny. He was again one of my inspirations growing up.
He's so enthused for life and it makes him exceptionally funny. I think he can deliver such a perfect routine, but it's the enthusiasm that goes along with it that is extraordinary. And I mean, he's been there for years and years and years.
He did he did a birthday show for the BBC, 60th birthday show, and I appeared in one of the sketches, and I did a warm up for the live audience. Yeah. And he came out and he was chatting to the audience. And he was like, I mean, this guy, he's got it. He's still got it after all these years. He's just vibing off the audience.
Yeah. I saw him in a serious play at the Donmar warehouse, and he was out shaking hands with the audience before the play started. It was extraordinary, and getting to know them all and everything. If you're on a comedy bill, do you stay and watch all the comedians on the bill? Do you make a point of that, or does it depend on circumstances, or
yeah, it kind of depends on how many gigs I have that night. Especially like gigging in central London. Like I very rarely only do one gig. I've always most time I've got 2 minimum. So I'll have to rush off. But
the reason why I asked the last 2 questions is that in my blog there's a section called "The Ones That Got Away," and I've written about 25 comedians who I never got a chance to see live, and for me, top of the tree were Morecambe and Wise. I've seen everything about them. I've got loads of books. I've seen plays about them, but I never actually saw them. But there are loads and loads, and Richard Pryor is in there. I would have loved to have seen him. But for me, obviously, the memories that I've got from the comedians that I've seen, it's extraordinary, and it's fascinating listening to the different comedians who I chat to, what their role models and memories of it are. Just before we go, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this tonight, my friend. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Have you got any gigs coming up? Have you got any podcasts? Where can people find you on social media?
So I've always got gigs booked up for the rest of the year. Go on nathancaton.com and you can find my gig list there. And then I'll be touring next year, 2022. The venue's not announced yet, but that's been booked as we speak. Again, hit my website or on social media. So Instagram is nathan.caton, Caton. Twitter is Nathan Caton, all one word. I'm even on TikTok for some reason. I'm not young, but I do it. Nathan Caton comedian. It's a few podcasts. There's one podcast that I work on called the Weekly Roast. Where I just find random stories and roast it. Been a basketball fan. I do one of NBA UK fans called Me, Myself, and Basketball. But again, follow me on social media and you'll find everything there.
Well, that's brilliant, mate. And I'm so pleased your tour is about to be announced, because I'm going to be first in the queue to come and see you live again soon. And I will see you live and online, my friend. I think you're a very, very funny man. And I just want to thank you so much for all you do to entertain. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And all the very best to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Cool, mate.
Now.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.